Yes, a very good morning to all of you. So today I'm here to discuss an important topic, I would say, that grabbed my attention, which is the bone, religion or practice, I would say. Uh, it is, I think, more than religion. I think it is a practice. Uh, Local or the indigenous kind of like practice which were existed in Tibet before the introduction of Buddhism in Tibet. So in Tibet, as we all know, Buddhism reached by the end of 7th to the beginning of like 8th century CE or AD. And but before that, the people were living there on the mainland of Tibet, and most of the time those people were tribal, and they have their travel from Central Asia, or from Central Asia, or from other region as well, from China, and then Tibetan themselves. So now in the Tibetan tradition, we gave focus to Buddhism, because Buddhism only, because Buddhism has become the state religion, during the after the three contribution of three great religious king like Shongsan Zangpo, then Tishon Destan, then Ralpa Chan, and afterward, there are two period we study in Tibetan. One is the early dissemination, and the second one is the later dissemination or new dissemination period, which we call Sarma tradition. In between, we have this dark phase. So similarly, same thing we also observe in the history of India. During the time period of like we say the period of Gupta as the golden period, but then again in between we are also seeing that the dark phase. But and also some scholars have highlighted the fact that it wasn't a dark phase actually, because within the period of the dark period, people are getting more aware about their tradition, culture, language, literature, etc. So they strive basically when they got hit by the certain circumstances. Like if we look at the case of Tibet, just after the persecution of Lang Dharma, who was a Bonpo believer, actually born, whether it is a practice of shamanism or animism. But it's not only in Tibet. The interesting thing is that this kind of practice, whether we say Bon or whether we say shamanism or animism, they were practiced all over Asia, like in the central, north, south, and East Asia. Like if you go through the history of China, you will find there people practicing indigenous thing. And if you read the history of like entire Southeast Asia, like Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, Cambodia, those people were very tribal in the beginning. Before the arrival of Hinduism and Buddhism there, they practice this animism and shamanism. And what is animism and shamanism? Shamanism is like they do worship nature in a way, but in a very kind of like in a very uncivilized manner, I would say. But in a way, they do worship nature. Now, what is the difference between, like, suppose today, if we talk about the dharma, the sophisticated dharma that we have in the Hinduism, Buddhism, and Jainism, and everywhere. So, we are talking about that sophisticated understanding of nature basically. So, and if we go back to our root, our ancestor, we are also seeing them worshipping nature. They are worshipping stone, they are worshipping spirit and the ghost, and then all the kind of like natural phenomena. So in a way they are also worshipping nature. And today, even after going through all this high philosophy of Indian and Western thoughts, all we have again come back to that, come back to the same thing nature. But one thing I'm observing between the ancient practice and the modern understanding of the dharma is that earlier people were, by nature, they are worshipping nature, doing different kind of thing. But maybe I think they lack that sophisticated sort of like understanding. But in a way, they have preserved nature, but they have no clear theory about the natural phenomena, like why there is thundering, if there is spirit or ghost, uh, whether there is ghost or not, and what is the benefit of worshipping those kind of god. But in a way they have preserved nature. So that kind of pratha or system or practice were present all over Asia, including India as well. But then India, since it remained the center of philosophy, so the theory evolved here on the mainland of India, and because of which many traditional thoughts actually took birth on this mainland of India. And then from here what happened, people are advancing in the field of science, technology, philosophy. uh, they have like today in any institution, like in science or in other technological field, we have a proper theory, the theory, the hypothetical theory. Those theories were truly experimented, and some result were also drawn. So I think same thing must have happened in the past, because of which today we are seeing this amount of like tradition and thoughts and philosophies, etc. But today I think the difference is that from, if we compare our ancestor to the time period that we are living, is we are advanced uh, in a way, because we have this theory now. Today we can clearly say that the natural phenomena, why there is thundering, why there is lightning, and do we really need to worship this kind of thing. So, or if we worship thundering and lightning, still are we gain do we get the result? So I think our ancestors have long experimented this kind of phenomena, or this kind of pratha or practice that existed in their tradition, and found out that there is no result, no logic behind worshipping this and thing. But but again, in that process we are seeing the misuse of science and technologies, isn't it? So which is why it again causing effect, causing lot of harmful effect to our surrounding and our environment. So which is why although there is this transformation in the way people see things, in the time, at the time when people are just worshipping nature out of ignorance or out of fear maybe. But then fear has transformed into this practice, and later on gradually it took the form of religion. So now all the religion is, I think, because of the internal fear of people, they need some sort of like providence. So that is why religion, different kind of religion is there. But if you go a little bit beyond religion, what it hold inside all this religion is that truly we are holding the natural element only. But the difference here is that now today we have scientific explanation of the nature and the all kind of natural phenomena. So I'm little bit surprised to see the bone tradition of or the bone practice, I would say. I don't know, because I've not much delve into the theory of bone. Because we until now we always see bone as a rivalry of Buddhism. So we do not spare our time and effort and attention in that into that practice. So we always see Bonpo as our enemy. But if we take a look from the perspective of a researcher, then I think we should go through, because many foreigner scholars have, I think, been through this practice. They have researched it and found out that This practice, bone tradition, is just like a practice of animism that were being carried out not only in Tibet but in the Central Asia, China, and the other neighboring region as well. So then they do not have their own like specific, sophisticated sort of like uh, thing, like they do not have uh, language, they do not have any kind of literature. In a way they are not very much developed, but some kind of practice were there to take care of them, like they have created so that they can take refuge under the under certain circumstances or situation of life, fearful circumstances. So similarly, same thing we are observing in the entire Asia, as I have already said, central, south, northern, and the entire Asia. So even in the I think Western country also, if you go through their history, we will find the practice of this tribal system everywhere. And gradually, I think as a as one system evolved, other system also evolved gradually, because at the time also people were not static. We when we think, when we see, when we say that they are ancient, that doesn't mean that they are static, they don't know anything. So they also used to travel a lot, gather information from this tradition, that civilization, this civilization, and in a way they also learn a lot, whether it is skill, whether it is language, whether it is literature, religion, practice, everything, craft and everything. So because of which we are here today with this advanced time period that we are living in. So but in Tibet, just before the arrival of Buddhism, the practice was there. So, and Lang Dharma was the believer of Bonpo tradition. So, we do not give much into it, but we have to, the young generation who are doing research in this particular thing, Tibetan Buddhism, they should at least go through this tradition, Bonpo tradition, so that they may get some new findings, so that it can add, their knowledge can add more value. It may open another perspective, angle, or possibilities. So so I think His Holiness Dalai Lama has accepted Bonpo as the there are four schools in Tibetan Buddhism, and Bonpo is the fifth school. But Bonpo is should be the first school, because it was there before the formation of Nyingma school, Saskia, Kargyu in Geluk. So today, I think the majority of the Tibetan Buddhism are the follower of Buddhism, but and in Buddhism we have a long, it is vast, it has its own philosophy, each school has its own philosophy, own practice, and own sort of like distinct culture there. And although the people from outside must be seeing Tibetan or the Himalayan region as one community, but within that community you will find different sect, different tradition, like that. So because of which the vastness are there, and the teachings, some teachings are very esoteric, so it's a bit of like difficult thing to do their research there. But then that esoteric teachings are also is esoteric teaching has its root in India. So in a way, if we look at it from the humanity perspective, or we are all connected and we are not different. Yes, the genetically the things are different, but historically, geographically, culturally, each thing is connected. So we are not separate. So from Bonpo, we see the thing place called Zangzung in the region of Mount Kailash, and from there I think Tonba Shenrab Meo, I think, is the founder of Bone tradition. But if we look at the origin of Shenrab Meo, he belonged to Takzik region, or from a region from Central Asia. So Ladakh has always been that that setu, that bridge, that junction where people all over, from Central Asia or from the European also come to that place. So, today suppose if I give you the example of a train junction, and the train station, suppose if station is China or Tibet, and then junction is like, it's a very chaos place. People all over came there, take a little break there, and then move towards their particular destination. So then that junction is highly influenced by all sort of people and all sort of culture. But then destination is, yeah, as I've said, China and Tibet. And so maybe we can find some traces in Ladakh also for the practice of shamanism and all those things. In Ladakh, yes, of course, we have uh, the Onpo Pratha. I think they call Onpo, but maybe from Bon, I think it may be derived, it may be, there's a terminological transformation. So from Bonpo practice, we have this Onpo practice in Ladakh. We suppose if someone got sick at the time, when we were child, when we were at our, like child, when our parents are young, they used to call Onpo instead of doctor. And that Onpo is not a monk. That Onpo is like a local, person, like lay person. But he has that skill. He has got some, literature through which he performs certain rituals, do some, that sacrificial sort of like cake, made up of wheat, dough, and do some rituals to ward off the evil. And he also implants certain uh, small scripture sort of like thing in that house, so that it can protect from evil. So there are a lot of practice there in Ladakh which I have seen myself doing. There's another practice called Sago Namgo. um, I don't know why that practice is banned. People used to do this Sago Namgo. I think I need to ask my mother, because there is also again another practice which is banned now in Ladakh. It's not banned, but somehow with time, evolving time, those practice were, ceased, naturally ceased to exist. And then we have to offer something, every day, to the dead and disease. And then in order to there is a son called spirit, a spirit named Sun, which has the people say nobody has seen that, but there is this myth created there that Sun look very ferocious and very scary. So if people look back at him, the person get die, instantly, because of his, because he has got no back. His internal is very open, like intestine and blood and everything. So everyone in our village used to advise the young child and everyone to not look back whenever you hear the voice of like, something like bell or like those things. uh, like, the women in India, they wear this anklet. So if you hear the sound of like anklet or bell, do not look back, because it must be done. So in order to protect that spirit away, we paint stone with red color, and we used to keep until recent time only. So those are maybe practice inspired from bone. So maybe I think I'm the one who is blind, who got just awake in that process. But maybe many researches have been, I think, conducted on this practice. But it could be a beautiful topic for young generation to research on, because we have many tradition which are not Buddhism actually, which may be inspired from Bonpo practice. So I think that's all I want to say.